is from the Gospel according to St. Matthew, the 3rd chapter, verses 13 to 17. Then Jesus came from Galilee to John at the Jordan to be baptized by him. John would have prevented him, saying, I need to be baptized by you, and do you come to me? But Jesus answered him, let it be so now, for it's proper for us in this way to fulfill all righteousness. Then he consented. And when Jesus had been baptized, just as he came up from the water, suddenly the heavens were opened to him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and alighting on him. And a voice from the heavens said, this is my Son, the beloved, with whom I am well pleased. Let it be so now, for it is proper for us in this way to fulfill all righteousness. This is the word of God. The people of God. Thanks be to God. Let us pray. Lord, open our hearts and our minds, that we may hear with joy your word for us this day. And as we hear it, let it plant seed that will grow and bear fruit in our hearts, in our lives, in this church and beyond, now and forevermore. Amen. What if you were to go to the hospital for surgery, and the doctor opened you up to take out your appendix or your gallbladder, and he made the incision but then turned and walked and left you on the table? How would you feel about that? Or suppose you hired a lawyer to write a will for you, and he wrote the will but never gave it to you. Or maybe you took your car to a mechanic, and the mechanic put the car up on the lift, took off your 4 old tires. He had 4 new ones there to put on it, but he never put them on. He just left it up on the lift. Some things have to be completed in life. You can't just have a little bit of the blood in your body. You need to have it all to thrive. You can't be married 3 days a week and have a marriage. Some things in life have to be completion in order for it to be meaningful, for it to work. You ever stop to think about how much in our lives we want complete? We don't want it partially done. We want it to be complete. Suppose you build a beautiful house with no roof on it. Partial? Is that good? No. We want it complete. Have you ever stopped to think about baptism that way? If you don't remember anything else I say, I want you to remember this. Baptism does not save us. Baptism completes us. Whether you've been baptized or not, I want you to think about that with me for a moment. I would ask you, have you been baptized? And you could say to me, well, I'm complete, preacher. I had water poured over my head or sprinkled on my head, or I was dipped in the creek or the lake or the baptismal font. Well, yeah, that's part of the ritual, all right. The water's very important, but that's not all there is. You see, baptism is about being water-washed, and water's important, but also spirit-filled, which is equally important. Matthew lets us in on this in his gospel. By the way, if you read this same story of Jesus' baptism in Luke's gospel or in Mark's gospel, you will see it even more so there. They all point to how important this is. That is about being water-washed and spirit-filled. I want us to stop today and think about our baptism again. Whether you've been baptized or not. Maybe you haven't been. You've thought about it. You've wondered about it. But I want us to think about what baptism really is today. First of all, baptism is an experience, not a ritual. We use the ritual to heighten our experience of what baptism is. But that's not what it is. It's not a ritual. It is an experience with God. And it's an experience that touches our lives and changes it in ways nothing else can. We're changed. We're not the same when we leave the baptismal waters. Something happens there that defies human explanation. Henri Babus, the great French writer, tells a story about what happened in World War I. These soldiers were in the trench. And there were 2 soldiers there who had become best buddies. One of them was mortally wounded. He was dying. And he turned to his friend and said to him, Dominic, you have lived a terrible life. You've been in jail. You've committed crimes. You've committed sins. Listen, Dominic, I've never had a black mark against me. Take my papers. Let me have yours. And all your black marks will die and be gone in the grave with me. And you can have a new life with a new name and be a new person. That's what happens at baptism. We have an experience there that changes us. We're not the same. One of my professors in seminary, Father John Westerhall, who's an Episcopal minister, went to Ecuador to conduct some workshops down there. And while he was there, he was invited to attend this church out in the country. And he went out to that service, and they were doing baptisms that day. They brought 3 or 4 infants up there for baptism. And he said the priest had this huge basin. He said, I've never seen anything like it. Big stainless steel basin. He said, half full of water. And he said, I'd seen plenty of baptisms in my life. I'd done plenty of baptisms in my life. But he said, something happened to me in that service because of what the priest did. He took those babies in his hands. And he held them up so everybody could see them. And he brought the babies down in the water. He had one hand on their face and nose so no water got into the nose or the mouth. He held them down. And as he put them down in the water, this is what he said. I kill you. And then he raised them up. He said, but in the name of Christ, I raise you to new life. And then he kissed them and handed them back to their parents. And he said, I never really understood what baptism was until that moment. It's an experience of death and resurrection, of old life going, new life coming. Something happens at baptism. It's an experience, not a ritual. It is the beginning of a relationship, not the end of anything. Not a one-time event. Not something just happens and it's over. It's always this continuous. There are 2 stools here with bowls of water today. After you receive communion, I want you to stop if you've been baptized and think about your baptism and remember it. Touch the water if you feel so led. If you haven't been baptized, I want you to think about these things. Maybe this will inspire you to want to be baptized and have it complete your life. Baptism is about a relationship with God and what that relationship means in our life. There was a little girl named Sophie. She grew up in Russia. She was in an orphanage. She was adopted sight unseen by a woman in Arizona. While Sophie was in school, NASA had a contest for writing a paper, something about the stars, something to do with just the stars. And Sophie won. They brought her to NASA and she read her paper. And this was the part that caught them, that they really liked. Sophie said, I used to lay in my bed in that cold, dark orphanage and look out the window at the stars shining in the heavens. There's no lights there. The stars become more spectacular. We sometimes forget that with all the lights we have. And she said, I looked at those stars and said, those stars mean there's a big sky. And somewhere there's a place where there is happiness and love and joy. Is there such a place for me? Will I ever find it? Far away from this cold, dark orphanage. And she said, when I was adopted by my mother in Arizona, I found that. And I look at the stars and I still give thanks for the opportunity, the privilege, and the spirit I've been given to have a new life here in America. Baptism is about a new relationship and how that relationship affects our lives. But baptism is also about giving something up, leaving something, losing something, but getting something new and wonderful. We let go of an old life. Whatever was in our past is gone. We die in those waters, part of us, but a new part is birth. And we are forever changed. But we have to allow ourselves to die. We have to give up our whole self in order for it to happen. Ivan the Great was Tsar of Russia. He fell in love with and was marrying the Princess of Greece. The only problem was, before the priest would do the wedding, Ivan had to convert. So he went through instruction. He converted. And they said, you got to be baptized before we can have the wedding. He consented. Yes, I want to be baptized. Problem was, he had a 50-man honor guard that took care of him, his secret service, if you will. And they wanted to be baptized too. So they went through the instruction and they got ready to do the baptism. They had 50 priests, one for each man. But there was a problem. You can't go into the baptismal waters carrying weapons. They had swords. They talked about it for a few moments and hit on an idea. And all 50 of those soldiers, the bodyguard of Ivan the Great, went into the baptismal waters holding their swords up with their right hand. They were baptized everywhere but their right arm. You can't keep part of yourself out. You can't segment your life in the kingdom of God. It's all or nothing. And so when we come to the waters, all of our life is touched. I don't care if the water's poured over your head or if you've been dunked in High Rock Lake. I don't care how much water you use, it doesn't matter. This is an act of God, and God claims us all, heart, mind, soul, and body. That's why Jesus said you love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. He didn't leave anything out. Baptism is the same way. Everything about us is caught up in that. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie or not. Came out probably 15 or so years ago. Oh, brother, where art thou? There's a wonderful scene where these guys who escaped from prison happen upon a baptism in a river. And one of the characters in here, Delmar, goes down and he gets baptized. And he comes back and tells his companions, all my sins have been washed away, even the sin of robbing that red and white. And one of them said, wait a minute, you told us you were innocent of that crime. He said, I was lying, but that sin's been washed away too. All of them are gone in the waters. Baptism doesn't save us. It completes us. So when we come to the table to receive the Holy Spirit there, we are water washed, baptism, spirit filled at the table. And that's why these sacraments mean so much to us. Not rituals, sacraments, gifts of God. And I hope you will experience them fresh and new for yourself today. If you've never been baptized and you want to be, let me know. We can take care of that. It's a wonderful thing. But if you have, stop by the bowl. Remember your baptism and give thanks to God that you are complete, water washed, and spirit filled. What a great gift God has given to us. And how today we can rejoice as we celebrate both of them in this place, in this time. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.